I love you guys.
Woo-hoo! John and Fairlight, we are so blessed. Woo! Of course, I'm dabbing my eyes because I can't listen to that song without tearing up ever. God bumps. So happy Divine Feminine Day, otherwise known as Happy Mother's Day. And so we're going to do a little sacred ceremony and honoring of all of the Divine Feminine within each and every one of us before I move into my talk. So first I'd like to ask, who in here has a mother? So hopefully everybody's raising their hand. Most likely you do. And I'm going to ask you to put up my very first slide up there. You know, we have a saying in our teaching called Namaste. And today we're doing the Mamaste. Mamaste, which is I love you. Because that's really the Divine Feminine energy, isn't it? It's selfless love. It's that love that knows no greater and higher love. It's the self-givingness, the nurturing, the intuition, the divine power that fills each one of us when we need to step up and step into something that we need to birth, that we need to protect, that we need to see to come to fruition. It's a powerful energy and one that we all have within us, whether we're biologically male or female. So let's go to the next slide, please. So I love this strip, this comic strip, because it is so true, especially of all of the mothers that I know. It's true of my mother and grandmother who are here with us today. And it's, yes, thank you. Give a little wave. And it's also true of my sister. I think about this comic strip every time I see her do the miracles that she does, because she has twins. And I just think she's a superhero big time. So this is how I feel about all mothers that I have seen in action every day. They are truly superheroes. Now let's go to the next slide. So here we go. One vacation day a year, that's all I get? Well, we call it Mother's Day, but technically you still have to work. Boy, isn't that the truth, right? So basically on this Divine Feminine Day, this grateful Mother's Day, mothers still, they typically still are mothering. There's never a time when you're not mothering, is there? And so we have a little ceremony planned, and I wanted to mention to you that we do honor the Divine Feminine that's within each and every one of us. And there's a reason for that, because it's been shared with me personally, having been a licensed minister, I'm in my 11th year, it's been shared with me how difficult Mother's Day can be for people and how joyful it can be depending on your life circumstance and your life situation. And so today, our center and our ecclesiastical staff, Reverend Yvonne and I, want to take this moment to truly honor you, the Divine Feminine within you, regardless of whether you're biologically male or female, because I'd like to do a shout out to my incredible stepfather right there. He raised my two stepsisters, and he was the mother and the father, and he did an outstanding job. So I'd also like to honor the fact, especially in today's world, we're all stepping into that mother role. Everywhere we need to, and everywhere we are privileged to have that opportunity. I was given a gift last night. I'm going to cry. I was given a Mother's Day gift because of the mothering I do for our teen group, which is so important to me. So I just thought that was so incredible. So Yvonne, if you would like to grab the roses there. We have a beautiful rose. Let me do a quick count. Yeah, we're good. So we have a beautiful rose for each and every one of you. Do you feel comfortable? Actually, I was going to ask, do we have two males that would be willing to come up here and hand these roses out? Or three? We're good with three. We need somebody to hold the vase. Thank you, because we have something we're going to be sharing while you're handing the roses out. Hopefully it won't be too distracting, because what we have, listen to them. They're already distracted. No, there you go. And then just hand those beautiful roses out. And if Reverend Yvonne and I are going to read this statement, this affirmation, once they get this figured out. Okay.
Give them to both genders.
We are giving them to everyone, yes, and there's a reason for that. So how about we just go back?
Okay.
To those who gave birth this year to their first child, we celebrate you.
To those who lost a child this year, we mourn with you.
To those who are in the trenches with the little ones every day, wearing the badge of food stains, we appreciate you.
To those who experienced loss through miscarriage, failed adoptions, or running away, we mourn with you.
To those who walk the hard path of infertility, fraught with pokes and prods and tears and disappointment, we walk with you. Forgive us when we say foolish things. We don't want to make this harder for you.
To those who are
Foster moms.
To those who are foster moms, mentor moms, and spiritual moms, we need you.
To those who have warm and close relationships with your children, we celebrate you.
To those who have disappointment, heartache, and distance with your children, we sit with you.
To those who lost their mothers this year, we grieve with you.
To those who experienced abuse at the hands of your own mother, we acknowledge your experience.
To those who lived through driving tests, medical tests, and the overall testing of motherhood, we are better for having you in our midst.
To those who are single and long to be married and mothering your own children, we hold that space with you.
To those who step-parent, we walk with you on this complex path.
To those who envisioned lavishing love on grandchildren, yet that dream is not to be, we honor your vision and grieve that loss with you.
To those who will have emptier nests in the upcoming year, we grieve and rejoice with you. I see somebody doing the cheer back there.
To those who place children up for adoption, we commend you for your selflessness and remember how you hold that child in your heart.
And to those who are pregnant with new life, both expected and surprising, we anticipate with you. This Mother's Day, we walk with you. Mothering is not for the faint of heart, and we have real warriors in our midst. We remember you. And then something that we do every month in our women's group. Women, are you guys ready for this? You ready to do this with me? To all of you, we love, honor, and respect you. Happy Divine Feminine Day. Mama's Day. Right on. So how many of you, by raise of hands, was truly intrigued by my talk title today? 2 or 3, good. You're paying attention, right on. Yes, well, that was the point. And if you don't know what my talk title is today, check out your bulletin, and I'll also tell you what it says. It says, why does your cookie say Delta? Applying the most important aspects of our spiritual journey. Well, I'm going to tell you today why my cookie said Delta. But that's a little down into the message. You know, our monthly theme is spiritual living through creativity. And I think about the divine nature, the God of our own understanding, God, Jesus, whatever it is that you are comfortable and connect with, whatever your God is. I imagine that idea and aspect of God is a lot like a mother. Because if you really think about it, you know, God birthed us, gave us the same genetic code and biological makeup of the divine. There's no spot where God is not, and that's true for us as well. And so I believe that we have been given all of the inherent qualities of the divine within us. And it is truly up to us to kind of go out there and learn, fall, stumble, feel pain, feel joy, learn from our experiences and our journey, discover all of the creative ways that life has to offer to us, and then to discover all the creative ways life is birthed through us. So to me, it's all very much similar: motherhood, mothering, and the divine, for we were all birthed through that energy. And it is truly creative. So the nature of the universe, I believe, is creative. It is the first cause to all that is, to all that ever was, and all that ever will be. Being one with its nature, we are also creative. Now, how many of you tend to say the opposite? I always get my hand smacked when I say it, right, Val? When I say, well, I'm not creative, I can't do that, and I can't draw, I can't do that. Well, I have been taught otherwise. And every day I get the opportunity to learn and grow and expand, and to really embrace this idea that we're all creative. We are all creative. We're all wearing clothes right now, this morning, and we all got to pick out those clothes. We put them together, right? That took creativity, right? We all did something with our hair, I'm guessing. Let's see. Maybe some, yeah, Ross worked the longest on his hair, I'm sure. So that's creativity, right? There are so many ways that we live life through creativity. It's truly mind-boggling if we stop to think about it. Creativity describes the way we embrace life. Have you ever thought of that? Right, because how consciously aware are we of our own creativity? Do we go through life every day? I mean, I think of the folks that have like all the same color in their closet because they just don't really want to be bothered with deciding what to wear or other things. You know, their minds are focused in other areas, but there's this beautiful expansion that takes place in my heart and soul when I allow myself to be creative. And when I allow myself to be creative, that means I step outside of this need to judge. This need to judge myself or think that I'm not good enough, or, you know, all that kind of stuff that we've talked about in the past. So there's this idea of embracing creativity as a spiritual value, as a spiritual purpose. We're here to express that creative spark of who and what we are in that unique, beautiful way that we were birthed into this experience by the divine. And I tell you, folks, God doesn't make mistakes. God never makes mistakes. So we have this joy, this responsibility, this privilege to continue to birth and embrace that creative aspect that's within us. And the creativity of spirit wants to be expressed and experienced through us. It's up to us to take those creative ideas that come to us, expressing them in interesting and fun ways for our benefit and for the benefit of all. Now, this whole idea of that creative flair and the creative juices and letting it flow in our life and letting it show up, it's not really something that, I don't know about you, but I've never really been able to demand it to show up in this moment. That's never really worked well for me. Has it worked well for you? Like, I got to be creative right here and now. Give me one of those mind-altering, world affair-altering experiences right here and now. It doesn't usually work that way. It's one of those funny dances that we do where we surrender to it and have faith. We surrender to it and have faith. So the next slide, you know how I always like to start out with something funny. This is the quick way that generally doesn't give us any, yeah. So we have Ed's 1 second acupuncture treatment. You know, and here's poor Ed. He's like, I'm getting ready to get acupuncture. And little does he know what's coming in this 1 second treatment. So that's kind of what happens in our life when we expect that stuff to happen instantaneously. And then we get surprised. You know, the Rumi quote that I have, I usually wait until the end, but I'm going to share the first Rumi, the first one. No, it might be the second one, sorry. It might be the second one. Let me see. Yeah, it's the second one. It's my slide 15. So as most of you know, our dog, Tony is our dog's name's Rumi, and I always do a Rumiism, and we haven't seen Rumi in a couple of weeks. So I said, we're going to need 2 Rumi quotes for today. I love this. Sell your cleverness and buy bewilderment. Because there's this thing that happens when we're placed into a situation of bewilderment, of awe, of there's something here to discover that at least opens me up to this unlimited experience. I feel unlimited. That's what travel does for me. I love to travel because you never know what you're going to see. You never know what you're going to get. You know, kind of on our day-to-day activity, and we go the same route to the grocery store and the same route to work and the same route to see our friends and the same route to church. We kind of know what to expect, right? But when we travel, we don't know what's going to happen, do we? Why does my cookie say Delta? I'm going to tell you why. So sell your cleverness and buy bewilderment. I love that quote. And then here with Rumi again, and you, when will you begin that long journey into yourself? Because this is all about applying the most important aspects of our spiritual journey. Doesn't absolutely everything that we experience outwardly really have to do with what's going on inwardly? Wouldn't you say? Yeah? I'm getting a few nods here and there. Right. So Ernest Holmes was really big into applying creativity in your life. Just like Jesus said, it is done unto you as you believe. Ernest Holmes says, you change your thinking, you change your life. Whatever you're thinking about, you're bringing about. So to be creative, we need to think creatively. To express creativity, we've got to be willing to surrender with faith and step out into that unlimited unknown that shows up in so many cool ways. And sometimes, because most of us don't usually elect to have a bewildered experience, because we like to be comfortable, right? So normally we like the comfortable stuff. We don't generally wake up in the morning and say, I want a completely different experience today. I want to be bewildered. I want to be surprised. I want to be shocked. We just generally don't. So what I think happens is the universe, the divine, provides us beautiful opportunities for us to step outside of our comfort box and move into a unique experience, because that teaches us unlimitedness. It teaches us how we can be creative. Moms are great with that, right? I mean, I can only speak from being a surrogate mother because I've never given birth, although I've helped my best friend birth both of her children at home. I've never personally given birth, but I have been around kids enough to know that you got to be really creative on the spot. Like if you need something, you got to jerry-rig something, you got to fix something, you got to heal a boo-boo. You know, super creativity's flowing there all the time because there's a great need, a great call. So what happens if you don't feel a great need and a great call in your life for super creativity to take place? What does it feel like? It can feel a little dull. You can kind of feel like the doldrums, like every day, in and out. Nothing's different. Blah, blah, blah. You can even feel the energy in the room go down, can't you? Whew. Well, as my beautiful mother likes to say, she's pretty sure that I came into this life saying, I want every experience you can possibly give me. And about the time I hit 30 or 40, she's like, please, would you please just change that desire just a little bit? I need a little bit of break. God bless that beautiful woman, because I have certainly put her through the motherhood trials, pretty much everyone you can possibly think of. So where I'm going with this is this beautiful path and journey we're on of that spiritual journey. Creativity plays a huge role in that. And most of you know that Reverend Yvonne and I were on a waiting list to get into Edwene Gaines's Ministers Only retreat. And we got the call 2 weeks before the retreat was to begin that we got in. Oh my gosh, we knew we were going to get in. We knew it, but we kind of had to wait for that call, you know, before you book flights and stuff. And we were so excited because Edwene Gaines, I don't know how old she is, but I know that back in Florida in 2000, we had her out at my center in Florida. And at that time, I was assigned to be her like special person that got everything for her, made sure she was comfortable. If she needed anything, I was the one to go get it. And that was back 17 years ago, and she was kind of up there in age then. So I have no idea how old this woman is, but she is beautiful. And she dedicated her life as a single mother, a young single mother who discovered she barely had 2 pennies to rub together, she decided one day, this is not going to be my experience my entire life. I know that we live in an unlimited universe. I know prosperity exists, and so I am going to have my life be about living and teaching and affirming prosperity and abundance. And so that's what she's done. And she's built this beautiful retreat center in northern Alabama. So that's where we were headed to, northern Alabama. So, and let's put up the slide of me and Edwene so you can see her. It's 10. Only 10. I don't know what number it is for you. There she is. There's Edwene Gaines. And so how many of you in here know Edwene or have heard her speak or have taken a workshop? She is absolutely hilarious. Southern woman to a T. And she is an incredible storyteller. So if you ever get the chance to hear her, she was just at Mile High a couple of weeks ago. So if they recorded that, or if you want to go to her website and listen to her tell some stories, I highly recommend it. She's amazing. She's a firecracker, let me tell you. So there's Edwene. So here we are. We've booked our plane tickets. We've got a motel in the next city booked. And I'll never forget, in our core council meeting, when they found out how inexpensive it was, one of our core council members said, "Is it in a safe neighborhood?" And we're like, "I don't know, we're just going on an adventure." So we were off on an adventure, and it was the perfect opportunity for Reverend Yvonne and I to travel together. We're both Aquarians, we're very much alike, and God help us, that didn't change during this little travel experience we had. So here we go. We did this trip as inexpensively as we could, so we had a very early flight on Tuesday morning, and the conference started at 7 p.m. that night. So we get to the airport. Her beloved partner, Jeff, was willing to pick us up and take us to the airport at 4 a.m. Thank you, Jeff. And we got to the airport a little before 5. We get through security, no problem. We got our coffees. We found the gate. We sit down kind of in a spot where we could kind of stretch out a little bit. We're there a little early. There's our gate. There's the other gate. We're sitting there. And Yvonne and I, when we get together, especially when we don't have to get through something really quickly, we love to create together. We plan and we get excited. And we were working on this awesome bubble application that she has on her iPad. And we were formulating and creating all these different programs for the center and the community, and we were getting into it. We were having a ball, and we were excited, and we were looking at this thing and just doing all kinds of stuff. And after a while, I got nudged by Spirit, and Spirit's like, "You've been sitting here a really long time." And I looked up, and I looked at our gate, and it's completely empty. Empty of people. And I look at Yvonne, and I look at our gate, and I look at Yvonne, and I can tell you, I traveled a lot in my life, flown a lot of places. I have never missed a flight in my life, and I've certainly never missed a flight when I've been sitting at the gate. But in our defense, and neither is Reverend Yvonne, in our defense, they never made an announcement. They never said last call for flight blah, blah, blah to Atlanta. They never announced anything. Or maybe they did, and we were just so into what we were doing, I don't know, who's to know. But when we discovered that we had missed our flight, it was one of those experiences of, I know, and we were like, "Oh, we can't tell anybody," it's like, who does that, right? I mean, who does that? But I'm thinking, yeah, we need to share this experience because it was a journey. Man, was it a beautiful journey. Because the whole point of spiritual living through creativity is surrendering and stepping into faith. In that moment, we had no choice but to surrender and step into faith. Because we had a conference to get to at 7 p.m., and we were in Denver, and we had to get to Atlanta and then get our rental car and drive 130 miles into northern Alabama. So we take a few breaths. We're like, we got this. We go up to the gate, or another gate, because there was nobody at our gate. We go up to another gate and ask, and we were flying Frontier first and last time ever for me, but no opinion there. So we ask, "Where's the Frontier service counter?" And it's like all the way on the other end of the airport in that terminal. So we're like, okay, cool, we got this. So we go to the other end. Now, let me tell you this. We were due to get into Atlanta before noon. Pick up our rental car, go to our drive, the 130 miles, go to our motel, change, shower, take a nap, because we'd been up since 2, and then go to the conference. That was the plan. So as you can imagine, I did not appear conference ready in that moment. Yvonne looked great, but I did not appear conference ready. So we run down to that end, and they're like, we only have one more flight, which is at 11:30 tonight to Atlanta, and it's full. But Spirit Airlines can probably help you out. And Yvonne and I are like, yeah, Spirit's got our back. Spirit's going to get us there. And where's the Spirit counter? It's all the way on the other end. So I was not wearing comfortable shoes. Yes, I'm still not paying attention to my mother's practicality and her good wisdom. I was not wearing comfortable shoes. I was wearing pretty shoes that matched my outfit. So by the time we got all the way down to the Spirit counter, my dogs were talking. So we get to the Spirit counter. No, they don't have any more flights to Atlanta. So then we were like, well, instead of running all over the place, let's just find a table and chair. We both had our laptops with us, pull up the flights, see what we've got to work with, which was not much. But we got through it. And we also realized in that moment, we had made a decision to go on this journey, to go to Edwin Gaines' Ministers Only, Prosperity and Abundance Spiritual Retreat. And we realized we were already on that retreat. We were already being taught Prosperity and Abundance 101. Because, as you can imagine, if you need a flight that's leaving in a few hours, they're not cheap. They are not cheap. And we both wanted to get there. We needed to get there. We had made a commitment. We had to be there at 7 p.m. So we found the Delta flight, and we were told we could go to some phone and pick up the phone, and a Delta person would be there. And sure enough, it was like magic. And we booked our flight. So we had a few hours before that flight left. Now, that flight was due to get in at 4:30. So do the math, 4:30, pick up the rental car, drive. There was no, or was it 5:30? There was no way we were going to be able to make the conference at 7, but we didn't, neither one of us fell into that. We knew we'd be okay. It was really kind of magical. We were happy, we were having a good time. There wasn't anything we could do about our situation other than surrender to it and have fun with it. So I took her to my favorite restaurant, Root Down Under. We had a beautiful breakfast there. We talked. We even created more stuff for the center. We leisurely got to the gate, planted ourselves right in front of the door. We were not missing this flight. Now keep in mind, our luggage was in Atlanta because it left on that Frontier flight. So halfway through the flight, we're having fun, having our flight, and you got to pick whatever snack you wanted, and I love those little cookies. You only get them on a plane, those cool little coffee Dunkin' cookies. And so I remembered opening my package, and it actually said Delta on it. And I'm like, oh my God, this airline is up there because they even print their name on the cookies. So I held the cookie up for her. You got that slide for me? I don't actually. There we go. So I hold my cookie up for Yvonne. And if you could just imagine, the whole day we were laughing our butts off at everything. We were having a joyous experience. And I hold my cookie up, and I could see on her face, she's looking at me like, why does your cookie say Delta? We're flying Frontier. Why does your cookie say Delta? And then it dawned on her, oh, I know why your cookie says Delta. So about that same time, it dawned on me, wait a minute, Atlanta is Eastern time. Where we were going is right inside of Central time. We gained an hour, baby. We gained an hour. So knowing that, we said, all right, we were on a mission. We made a plan. As soon as we got off that plane, we had to run and get our luggage from Frontier, and then run and pick up our rental car, which was already booked and paid for, and then haul butt to Alabama, right? And we could do it. We knew we could do it. We didn't stop to eat. We didn't stop to go to the bathroom. We didn't stop to do anything. And when we plugged it into our phone, our GPS on our phone, it said we would get there at 7:17 p.m. So I said, we got 17 minutes to make up. I can do that. If there is anything I could do that. Because it was beautiful country roads, you know, and I grew up in Kentucky. It was like driving in Kentucky. It was beautiful country roads. We had the radio on. We were singing. We were having a good time. We got to the conference at 6:58 p.m. Now, keep in mind, we didn't eat, and we hadn't gone to the bathroom, and we'd been up since 2 a.m. But it was an awesome way to travel with somebody and really get to know them. Because, you know, she had to crawl in the way back to get my bag because there was some snacks in there. We're like eating and drinking and finding things at the bottom of my purse to eat. It was awesome. So we get there, and of course, we had gone to the bathroom for this whole time. So we were set to go to the restroom. And one of my beloved Unity minister friends that went on the cruise with me ran up when we entered the room and smacked my name tag on me and gave me a big hug. And she was like, I'm so excited you're here. I was so happy when I saw your name on the thing. And I'm like, can't talk to you right now. I've got to go to the bathroom. I'll talk to you in a minute. We go to the bathroom, and then all of a sudden, everything changed again. By the time we left the bathroom and came back into that room, which was full of light and people hugging, and the energy was high and it was loud and it was boisterous, we come out, lights were down, all the candles were lit, and that holy song was playing, the one that I played 2 weeks ago for you. And it was like we were completely transformed. And it was like another one of those knowings. God's got our back, no matter what. There's this surrender and faith that went into that experience that was beyond anything that I had had the privilege of experiencing before. It was a unique experience. I would have never had that had we made our flight. That sounds good, doesn't it? No, it's true. We would have never had that experience. And we got to open up to the prosperity and abundance of what it was that we were going to truly learn and embody in a greater way. When we both had to buy that plane ticket that got us to Atlanta, we're like, yep, we are moving into this lesson right here and now. And that's kind of how life does it, right? Kind of how life does it for mothers or for those that are in the divine feminine in that moment. You do what you got to do. And most of the times you do it right then and there. And you do it with as much creativity as you're willing to tap into the unlimited, infinite intelligence of the divine. It's really awesome. So, there is that. It was an incredible retreat. Absolutely incredible retreat. And it just hasn't stopped. Because I want to share with you in that retreat, one of the very first things we did is we all had to stand up and introduce ourselves and say a little bit about ourselves. And there was like 30 or 40 ministers in that retreat. And it was so funny. When it was my turn to stand up, this massive thunderstorm hit. Like this massive clap of thunder hit right when I was supposed to talk. So I had to just kind of wait a minute. And that experience was like that every single step of the way. Because those beautiful tithing baskets, you want to wave those around and hold those up? I shared them with you 2 weeks ago. Edwene did a drawing, and I won the first drawing, which was those baskets. It was beautiful. It was just like that every bit of the way for us. And then one of our exercises is we had to state what one of our goals, life goals and dreams were. And you had to stand up and state that in front of all these ministers. And it had to be real and genuine and authentic. And unbelievable or believable, depends on how you want to see it. What I stood up and shared, it wasn't even a few minutes. It was like our next break. And I got the request to speak at the next cruise next year. Going to Spain. Yeah, it was pretty unbelievable, actually. pretty unbelievable. And as most of you know, I spoke on a cruise in January that it was set to be a fundraiser for our community. And after I got home and we shared the experience with everybody, everybody's like, oh my gosh, it looks like so much fun. And how cool is it to go on a spiritual retreat where you're actually doing workshops and hearing people speak and being immersed in this spiritual experience, but on a cruise. How cool is that? And everybody's like, well, I want to go, I want to go, I want to go. And I was like, well, it's too late now. Well, here we got another chance. And it is a fundraiser for our center. For every person that goes, we get $150 back. And the goal is to fill 15 cabins, and that gives us $4,500, $4,500. It's really an awesome experience. I'm not meaning this talk to be a sales job at all. I'm just giving you some examples of how when you step into surrender with faith, and you know where your stretching area is. You know where your stretch is. And I'm looking at some people because I've worked with you and we've talked about where your area of stretch is. You know that feeling of where you get the butterflies in your tummy, and you know it's something you really want to do, but you're not really sure you can do it, or you're a little waffly on the faith that you have in yourself, but you go for it. Because something else happened on this retreat too. I didn't read Edwin's full email until like the day before we left, and somewhere in the bottom of the email it said we were doing a fire walk. I didn't know that. And I asked Yvonne, I called Mom, like, did you know that there was a fire walk on this retreat? We already said we were going. We said we're going. I don't know if I'm going to be walking on fire. That's just not something that's ever been on my to-do list, is to walk on fire. But we did it. I walked on fire and I did not get burned. And Edwin teaches us that when we do that, when we stretch ourselves into that greater expression of creativity and that passion of what is within us that desires to be birthed, and when we listen to our intuition, when we surrender with faith, we will do those things and not get burned. Right? Right. We will. We did. And so she taught us afterwards. She had us write when we got back into the building. Oh, and let me tell you, we had to help build the fire. We had to help build the fire pyre with wood. It was really kind of cool because we had to put our, we did this prayer thing, and we put things on the wood that was going to be burned. It was this huge pyre that then they covered in gasoline and they set on fire, and that sucker was hot and flaming. It was quite an experience. So when we got back into the room, she had us take out a piece of paper and write down, I walked on fire and did not get burned. I can do anything. I can do anything. You can do anything. So what is it that is calling forth in your heart and soul, your passion, your desire? What is calling forth for you to stretch and grow into, to experience life in even a greater, more fulfilling experience? It's calling out to you. What are you going to do about it? That Rumi quote. Can you put that back up? That Rumi quote. And you, when will you begin that long journey into yourself? That trip was only 4 days long, but it felt like a lifetime because I felt like I was birthed and I grew a whole lifetime in that 4 days. Truly amazing. And so I'm going to switch gears with you a little bit. Got a lot to get in today, so I'm going to switch gears for just a minute, because it all comes together in the end. So this life that we're living, there is absolutely no part of it that is accidental. There's no part of it that's not on purpose. And I'll tell you why. Because as most of you know, I left the next week to go to St. Petersburg, Florida for a reunion with my two best girlfriends, Diane and Lynn. I'm going to cry, so just deal with it. I can't help it. So this was a reunion of a show that we did 21 years ago. And we were called back to kick off this show and do the two same exact skits, shows, performances that we did 21 years ago in 1996. Can you put those pictures up? It's, okay, yeah. So this was our second skit to We Are Family. That's why we sang it this morning. So yeah, this was just a couple of weeks ago. And that's Diane and Lynn and myself doing We Are Family. And if you go to the next slide, that's in 1996. 21 years ago, on the same stage, we did that same skit. And then the next slide, Sweet Surrender, that's us, a couple of weeks ago, singing Sweet Surrender. We sang that 21 years ago on that stage to open the act. Little did I know, and I said this on that stage 2 weeks ago, that we would be opening the act with the same song that we sang 21 years ago that we now sing quite often in this community as our prayer song. It's unbelievable what life does with us. The gifts, the milestones, the experiences. Just when you think, what was that all about? And why did I walk that path? And why did I make that turn? And how in the heck did I do that detour? It all makes sense. After a while, it comes together and it makes sense. Because I was super psyched about the cruise. You know, I'm a featured speaker on a cruise to Spain next year. I am so excited about that. So I'm with my old congregation in St. Pete, Florida, and they're all excited about it. They're like, we want to go. We're going. So I'm seeing it as this beautiful, incredible reunion that's taking place. But it was truly unbelievable. And we hadn't all three been together in almost 20 years. And it was just time. We needed to be together. We were called to be together. Diane there, best friend right there, holding the rain stick. That's the same rain stick we used 21 years ago too. I packed it in my suitcase. Can you believe that? Yes. My mom goes, yes. You know, I helped her deliver both of her children at home. And Lynn there on the end, she's a little older than me and Diane. Me and Diane are Aquarians. We used to get in all kinds of trouble. Lynn was our anchor. She was the one that kept us grounded. And it was meant for me to be there because her and Simon, her husband, had just, after 30 years, decided to get divorced. And Lynn was pretty broken up about it. So it was this coming together of best friends from 20 years ago that was really meant to happen. So see, there are no accidents. It's like the song that Joe sang last week, Just Say Yes. Something told me I needed to say yes when I got the call in January. We're doing a reunion. They're asking us to come back. Will you fly to Florida? And I said yes. Normally I wouldn't do that. But what is it that you are being asked to show up, stretch, expand, embody, and say yes to right now? How is spiritual living through creativity showing up and inviting itself in your life right now? I know something's being ignited in every one of you. Are you ready to say yes? Or are you ready to get to what it is that your soul thinks it needs before it can say yes? Are you at least ready to do that? Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you. How cool is that? I think that's pretty cool. There is just so much I want to share with you and cover with you this morning. The infinite will go out of its way to get our attention. How many of you believe that? The infinite has gone out of its way to get my attention. And I honor that. I celebrate that. I sing my praises about that. And it goes out of its way to give us what we need, whether we realize it or not. It knocks at the door and it gives it what it needs. Gives it what we need. So here's our tips for that spiritual journey inward. Spend time thinking about how connected we really are. Spend time thinking about how connected we really are. There are so many connections that's happened on these two trips for me. Temple Hayes. Temple Hayes is on the cover of the Science of Mind magazine in June. Temple Hayes is the one that keeps inviting me to come speak on these cruises. She's an old friend of mine. She used to be a religious science minister many, many years ago, and now she's a unity minister. But before she was a minister at all, I knew her as a friend. She was in my veggie co-op. Do you see how those connections have brought us to this moment? You just don't know how all these people that cross our paths and we get the chance to shine our light with, it could be brief, it could be for a day, a week, a year, but we're all connected. So there's that spiritual journey, is spend time thinking about how connected we really, really are. Revel in appreciation for who we are and the life we get to live. Revel in appreciation for who we are and the life we get to live. Focus on the good stuff, the big picture stuff that's happening, not the mistakes. The mistakes. Focus on the big picture. We focused on the big picture. We had to. We didn't have really another choice. We could have kind of gone a different route when we found out we missed our plane while sitting at the gate. Who does that? Who does that? But we focused on the big picture, you know? We wouldn't have had that experience when we arrived at the retreat center. We wouldn't have had that experience traveling those country roads.
Very fast.
Very fast, yes. Safe, but fast. Safe, but fast. We tried to get them to give us the Corvette, and they wouldn't do it. We tried hard. So focus on the good stuff, the big picture stuff, and what's happening, not the mistakes. Enjoy all the choices we get to make and that is available to us. This is key. Enjoy all the choices we get to make. It's all a choice. Enjoy them all. And melt into oneness with our infinite source. How much better does it get than that? How much better does it get than that? I ask you. So right before we walked on fire, Edwin taught us these three things that were the most important things to focus on. Pay attention, expect the best, and go for it. So where spiritual living through creativity is being ignited in your soul right now, I am inviting you to expect the best. Oh, I'm inviting you to pay attention, expect the best, and to go for it. And so there's an affirmation. I decide to be true to my creative nature and let it lead the way to a richer, more rewarding life experience. Can we say that together? I decide to be true to my creative nature and let it lead the way to a richer, more rewarding life experience. I'll just do it again. I decide to be true to my creative nature and let it lead the way to a richer, more rewarding life experience. Namaste. You are up. Let's dream on.